Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. Our mission is to see a world well led. And our strategy to get there? To empower leaders like you to lead every day. So let's get to work.
Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. I'm Randy Gravitt.
And I'm Mark Miller.
And it's a Monday, Mark. It's weekend's over.
Happy
We're brand
Monday.
new week. And I got a question here. It's baseball season. Go Braves. I'm excited about the Braves. We're kind of into it now, which is good. Could you imagine a baseball team? Let's take a baseball team. Imagine a baseball team with 9 second basemen. That'd be laughable.
It'd be an awful team.
It'd be an awful team. It really would. And yet, how many people, when they think about their teams, we've been talking about building high-performance teams, we actually don't give a lot of thought to who's in what position and how that works. Today, we're going to talk about this idea of ensuring diversity. I think it's a
huge
big idea, and maybe there are some of you listening today who it might be a gap in the way you're thinking about your team, and they may be underperforming. Remember, it's talent, skills, and community focused on results. I think if we get the right people in the right seats. Go back to the Drucker quote. If you missed that a couple of weeks ago, Mark shared this story that Peter Drucker at one point said that the most important decision a leader makes is who does what. It's kind of under this umbrella here.
It certainly is.
It really is. So let's talk about ensuring.
Well,
diversity.
there's been so much in the media, maybe even for the last 2 or 3 years, about diversity, which I think is great, and we need to be talking about diversity. But we've been talking about diversity for 30 years.
Yeah.
As it relates to teams. And so I want to be sure that we're all thinking broadly enough. It does encompass DE&I as it's currently being discussed. And yes, the more diverse the teams, the better. But you need to think beyond racial, ethnic, and gender. Yes on all that. But we're going to talk about this concept much, much broader.
Right.
And so that's what we want to get into today.
Yeah, that's good. So when we think about teams, one of the things I think about is the diversity from experience. Like people come from all. It's fascinating. You start talking to people on your team, where they came from, what they're going through, and what they've been through, and where they graduated from, or where they didn't go to school, or where they did. It's like they bring with them so much diversity just from perspective. If we're not careful, we'll be comfortable talking to people that are just like us, and we group think kind of stuff can
Right.
go on. I mean, a lot of stuff we could discuss here, but this idea of really understanding when we need people to do certain things, those broad perspectives they bring, get into any problem solving,
Sure.
all that kind of stuff. A lot of things that
it's about seeking it. You're right. I mean, you could end up with a
right.
group
I'm
of
saying
individuals.
building it. I mean,
Right.
you got to
Right.
build that. If
right.
You're gonna,
If you're not
and
careful,
appreciate that.
you will recruit people to join your team that are just like you.
You're right, or you're comfortable with whatever. Exactly.
And you're very comfortable because they see the world just like you do. Maybe
Yeah.
they've got the same experience. I mean, I've sat in far too many rooms where everybody had the same functional bias.
Yeah.
And you may say, well, it's a functional team. I said, I got that, but you need to look for ways to increase diversity. And I'll just go to one specific tactic is sometimes you may want to bring in a subject matter expert. Maybe it's not a person who sits around your table at every meeting, but because of the topics you're going to be discussing, that if you're human resources people, you want a marketing person or an ops person at that table. You can't assume that you're going to have diversity, but you need to seek it out and you need to be intentional, strategic, as you would say.
Yeah, I like what you say there about at your table, because I think making sure you're inviting the right people to the table, and you may have a team of people. Let's say you got 6 people on your team. That doesn't mean you can't have 7 people at the meeting or 9
Right.
people. You can have
Right.
3 people from different departments who are going to be affected by the decision we're about to make. Why would we not want them to weigh in on, hey, what's going to be the emotional, backlash here if we do this, and what's the best idea what would concern you the most if you were? I mean, all kind of questions we could be asking. You get that diversity at your table, and you're going to make better decisions.
So let's talk about a couple of other areas. You mentioned diverse experiences. I mentioned diverse functional background or expertise. What about educational background?
Yep, that's good.
What about personality?
Yeah.
I mean, you can just begin to, how about age?
Yeah.
And gender and race? I mean, The more diverse teams are going to do better work.
Yeah, that's good. They're going to, like I said, they're going to make better decisions, better results, better all kind of stuff.
Yeah, but let me put an asterisk on that. And I know you and I both, we've talked about this, not recently, but we also have to be careful not to make some assumptions. Now, I've missed this a couple times in my life, and I'm smarter now. I'm a little more mature than I was back then. I've always tried to build a diverse team based on everything we just talked about. But Google did some work a few years ago trying to figure out what made their best teams so amazing. They called it Project Aristotle, if you want to Google it.
Yeah.
And one of their findings is that diversity alone is not the magic, which I thought was interesting. I wanted to keep reading. Yes, it helps to have a diverse team, but only if those diverse voices are heard. And I have been guilty of knowing that I had a diverse team and then not mining for those individual contributions. Because when you're looking at diversity, you're also going to have some introverts and some extroverts.
That's
and
right.
You may have to call on those introverts in order to hear their voice,
Right.
make space for them.
Well, and you're going to have people, you could go all kind of different ways, but you're going to have people from the city and people from small towns, and they're going to have different perspectives. And you're going to have people that are, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that are results biased, and you got people that are relational in their bias. And you probably need to talk to
You need all that.
just all that stuff. It's just such a fascinating topic when you start thinking about it. And I think sometimes our teams are maybe under accomplishing or underperforming because we really haven't ensured. I mean,
Right.
I think it's like, do we value diversity? Yeah, but ensure is a different word. Like value, like that'd be great if we had it. Ensure, it means we're going to go build it.
Right.
We're going to go bring it to the table, and we're going to make sure that we've got a good
And
depth.
let's take it another level. Again, you may be thinking this sounds overwhelming. Well, maybe it is at some level. But if you're going to build that baseball team, you got to have people with different skill sets because they've got different roles to play.
Yeah.
So you can keep going here. Let me mention one more, which is personality or temperament. You can look at Myers-Briggs. You can look at DISC. I mean, Colby, all of those tests out there that you can take. Well, those are really helpful. And you can identify gaps when you say, ooh, we all have this particular bias or orientation. We all have this similarity, which again can feel good, but you may think, oh my goodness, when we select our next person, they need to be different.
Yeah.
Or you'll wake up and everybody will be the same.
Yeah, I'll give you one more example. So years ago, I was leading a team, and one of the things we had going on was we part of this team was responsible for the facility. And I always loved to have a brand new person walk through the building and not say a word, just walk through the building with our facility supervisor and make 15, 20 observations. And it was crazy how the brand new person would see things that those of us who've been in the building every day for 10 years, we didn't see any of that. I mean, you just begin, and so that's just another example. If you've got a new project or something, or a new person that is joining a project, listen to them first, not everybody else who's been on the project for a while. I mean, all these things are just so powerful when we begin to listen to the people around the table and appreciate their differences. I think there's an opportunity for us to grow there. So this idea of ensuring diversity, maybe it's a little bit of work you've got to do. I encourage you to do that. If so, we're gonna dive into another layer of team skills tomorrow. We'll jump into that, but this might be one where you need to make an adjustment. If so, you got too many people that are the same around your table. I encourage you to make your organization will get better, your teams will get better, your performance is going to go up if you'll value that. Remember, the best leaders lead every day.